Hello, hello. It's Memento, or maybe it's Mita, and I'm here to review a bunch of cozy games from Steam Next Fest. This is the February 2025 Steam Next Fest, and I have felt so lucky to be able to participate in it and play so many unique and interesting games. The first cozy game that I played was Bookbound. In Bookbound, you have opened up your own little bookshop, found a magic book that's giving you unsolicited advice, and now you need to try to make a living. It was a simple game, it was a cute game, and I really liked the pixel graphics. So, for my ratings, I thought the music was a 5 out of 5. I think the music was really fun, it was really sweet to listen to. And honestly, no notes on music. I think the mechanics, though, it was like a 2.5 for me. And that's only because some of it felt a little bit clunky when I was moving the books around and ordering. Some of the stuff just didn't feel intuitive for me to play. The characters I gave a 4, and that's because the characters are cute. The talking book is really cute. There wasn't really too much characterization happening, but it wasn't bad. The story, I think, was a 3, and that's mostly because there wasn't too much story. You get a little bit of story in the magical book that's talking to you, but other than that interaction, there's really not much more than running your shop. I think that honestly they should try to include a little bit of story in it, and I think that could make a big difference, even just having a few characters that you get to know. And as for the coziness, definitely a 4.5. It was a very cozy game. It was a very relaxing game, and I definitely enjoyed it. But I need there to be a little bit more plot and substance to my cozy games personally. So I think it's good if you want something kind of mindless, and if you like those shop simulators where the entire purpose is opening a shop and selling things, this is going to be perfect for you. If you like to have a little more plot with it, you might want to consider a different one. So the next game I played was Camper Van Make It Home. This was a game I was really, really, really looking forward to because I love games like unpacking. Anything that I get to organize, I find really fun and really soothing. So the music, I found it to be a 3.5. I think it would have been cool to customize the music a little bit, especially since you do find the cassette in the beginning as you're kind of like world building. So I think it would have been nice if I could have played different musical tracks over top of it and customize it a little that way. The mechanics though, unfortunately the mechanics of this game, it felt very clunky to me. Moving around the camper van, I just found it so difficult. And I think it's because it's such a small space that I was getting frustrated as I was playing it. And a couple of the things I had trouble stacking, like there was nowhere they seemed to really fit, but they took up so much space that I was like, oh my gosh. Now if I, like this big like cast iron pan was taking up the entire space and I was like, I can't set anything on it. So I got a little frustrated playing this game for sure because the mechanics felt super clunky, which was a little disappointing to me personally because I was really anticipating it. I'm still keeping an open mind though because I think that Next Fest is a great time for you to get your demo out there, get some live feedback, and make adjustments to your game. So fingers crossed that this can help. I think the story, I gave it a 4. The story is simple. I mean, it's not meant to be overly complicated, and I think it does a really good job with that, and I really applaud it. And as for the coziness, I gave it a 3.5. I give it a 3.5 because, like I said, I got a little bit frustrated trying to place the objects. So for me, I couldn't be relaxed when I was frustrated, but the aesthetic of the game is so lovely. The concept, it's perfect. It's like unpacking, but in a camper van. So I think if they can fix some of the clunkiness, I think this game will absolutely skyrocket, and I would love to revisit it later on down the line when, fingers crossed, some adjustments have been made. Moving right along, I played a suggestion that actually came to me. I was taking suggestions, so I went through the whole list of games, and then people also suggested me games that they wanted me to play, and one of those games was Is This Seat Taken? I looked at this game and I wasn't sure if I was going to play it, and I'm honestly so glad I did. This is a cozy puzzle game where you need to organize people or shapes so that they all fit in their desired locations, and can I just say I fell in love with this game. So the music, 4 out of 5. I really like the music. I look forward to hearing more music. It wasn't like absolutely perfect, outstanding, but it fit the game well and I enjoyed it. If they kept the music as is, I think it would still do a really good job. The mechanics of the game, I gave a 4.5. The reason it's not a full 5 is because there were a couple that I was kind of unsure about. The one about like chatting, because I did get to the bonus level. I was like, I'm not really sure what he means by I want to chat with people and what triggered that. I was able to finagle it until it worked, but it took a second. So that's the only thing, is I wasn't positive what was meant by that, and I didn't see a cue for I didn't see any sort of visual cue at first. I'm open to being wrong on that, and if I am, I'll put it as a 5. The characters. I give the characters a 5 out of 5. When I started playing this game, I did not think it was going to have characters or story. Story, I also gave a 5 out of 5. The thing is, this is so cute. It has these recurring shapes that keep showing back up. You recognize them each time they appear on screen, and it's exciting. And you're hearing their stories play out through little bits and pieces of dialogue as you go. And it was just so inviting and so enticing to listen to. And I thought that was such a nice touch in what could have been a simple puzzle game. And last but not least, this is the only one I didn't rate on coziness. I rated on the puzzles, and I give the puzzles a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the puzzles in this game. I thought they were inventive, and I like how they added different elements each and every time, ranging from cleanliness, people being loud, and wanting to talk to people or sit next to children or not children, sharing popcorn, not sharing popcorn. There were so many different elements to these puzzles that kept them unique, despite the concept being utterly the same every single time. So I really like that every level felt substantially different. Olaf the Boozer was another game recommended to me, and it is also a cozy puzzle game in the style of The Hangover. You wake up in a tavern and you're like, what did I do last night? And you have to piece together the puzzle of what you did last night. So the music, oh my goodness, the music was so on point, and I give it a 4 out of 5 because of that. Definitely set the atmosphere for tavern after a long night of partying. The mechanics of the game were a little more difficult. There's not really a good tutorial. I also do want to make note, I found the print, the font they use, really hard to read. It's one of those pixel fonts, and they can be super hit or miss. It makes the words all really stretched out. So I actually was having trouble, like, I skim things a lot, and I did have trouble reading that. So I think having a feature where I can change the font would be really helpful, just because that pixel font was hard. I struggled with that one. Next up, we have the characters. I thought the characters were really endearing, so I give it a 4 out of 5. I loved the guy who was locked in the closet, Cream. Oh my god, so wholesome and cute. He's like, oh, it's fine, I'm just in here. La-di-da. I had a really good time with that. The characters were definitely the most enticing part of the game, in my opinion. The story, I also gave a 4.5, and that's because I think it was so creative to take The Hangover and put in video game format, essentially, but with that tavern aesthetic. I really, really, really enjoyed that. I thought it was very creative on the devs' part, and I'd love to see more of it. And then the puzzles, I gave a 3.5. Like I said, I had a bit of trouble with the mechanics. I think if the mechanics were a little bit more clear and I felt more of a tutorial was introduced, I think I would take that and rate it a little bit higher. I just wasn't always quite sure what I needed to do. There was one tutorial that did make it pretty clear once you did it. So I tried the level, failed the level, and then was like, oh yeah, that image they showed at the beginning, I bet that was relevant, and that did help a lot. So I think more things like that would be really heckin' useful. Otherwise, I really enjoyed the game. I think it was an interesting concept. It is not a game I would have typically picked up, so I'm glad that it was recommended to me so that I got to spend a little bit of time trying something new. Next up, we have Paper Trails. This was a game all about scrapbooking. This was another one I was really looking forward to and mostly really enjoyed. I'll tell you, I had one little issue. So the music, I gave a 3.5, and I think that's only because you you just couldn't adjust anything with the music, so it got a little overwhelming. You go from something very calming to something very loud, and it was a little bit of a like, ah. But overall, I did like the music. I just would like a little bit less of a like tonal shift. It was a really intense tonal shift. The mechanics, I gave it 2.5. Again, I had some mild issues. So the first thing is you only get the prompt for what you need to do for something once. I don't always read. My chat on Twitch yells at me that I don't read. And because I missed the prompt and it never gave it again, I ended up having to restart the entire level because I didn't know what I was missing and thought I had encountered a bug. Turns out I had just needed to color something in, but having an option to either ask for help, like a little help button that re-gives you whatever prompt you need or even points to something, I think would be really useful. For those of us who just don't always notice that there are words on the screen we need to read. Whoopsie! And then in the second part, I did encounter definitely like a wonky glitch with the song lyrics and ended up having to play with that a while. Glitches happen. I'm not holding it against the game, but it did make it a little bit frustrating that there's no repeat prompt, and you also can't move on until you've done absolutely everything. So just having something to help with that, I think would make a world of difference. Next up, the characters. I gave the characters a 4. I thought the characters were really sweet. I loved hearing little bits and pieces about the mom, the dad, and the little girl. It was really nice to sort of live vicariously through their story through these scrapbook pages that you're making. Speaking of the story, I give the story a 5 out of 5. I love subtly told stories like this. I've played a couple games like this before, Unpacking being the biggest one, but Unpacking and also Projected Dreams, which tells the story through you creating like the little like shadow figures. I don't know how to make any of them, like the little like shadow figures, and then having a like picture that goes along with it. So I love the idea of storytelling through mediums like scrapbooking or just little snippets of life. So that absolutely blew it out of the water for me. They hit the nail on the head with that one. And of course the coziness, I gave a 4. It was a very cozy game, and if it just made a couple changes of like maybe a help, or maybe if you hadn't if you don't do something within a certain amount of time, it re-gives you the prompt. I think that would take the coziness to the next level, and this is definitely a game that I want to watch out for. Next, we have Scaling Up. This is another game that I was super duper looking forward to. Scaling Up is by the same game devs who made Crafty Survivors, which is a game I am in love with. And when I say in love with, I mean it. Let me go check. I kid you not, 54 hours in Crafty Survivors, and I'm still not at the end of it. It's a huge game. But this isn't about that game. That video comes later. This is about Scaling Up, which is a resource management game. I definitely struggled a little bit in the beginning with it, and I think it's because that is a player error. I'm very much used to skimming, and this one you need to read the instructions. So with that in mind, you need to read the instructions. It's going to tell you all the things that you need to do. I think that the music was a 4.5, and I knew it would be because I love the music in Crafty Survivors. I'm sorry, I'll stop comparing them. It really is beautifully scored. I think they did a really good job scoring the game and giving like sound effects where they needed to be, and the sound design overall is just really, really good. The mechanics of the game, I gave a 3.5 to. I had a little bit of trouble figuring out the mechanics. But once I started to at the tail end, get it? Snakes. Once I figured it out at the tail end of my playthrough of it, it made a lot more sense. And I really would like to go back and actually have time to play all 7 days, because I did actually really enjoy it. The snakes are so freaking cute. Didn't think I was going to be a snake girly. Thank you for changing that about me. But yeah, a little bit of struggling, but I say that with an asterisk. If you read through everything, it will help you. I am just an avid skimmer. I'm bad about that. The characters, I gave a 4.5. Each one of the snakes is beautifully designed. You can pretty much tell what they are meant to do based on looking at them visually, which I really like. I like that they each had elements of what made them up, essentially. You could kind of tell like the water snakes were going to do water and like all that jazz. So I think it's really good character design. There's no story to go along with the game, and I don't think there's any plans for a story because it is a resource management game. So I couldn't give any sort of grade on that. But again, I really did like the characters, like how they did the different snakes, and I like the design, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go further. And as for the coziness, I gave it a 4.5. In some ways, this felt a bit like an idle game. So it kind of felt like a game that I could run in the background and multitask with, which is something that I love doing. So I actually have really high hopes for this. And again, I want to revisit it and have time to play all 7 days, because I only got to go through a couple of the days, unfortunately, just due to time constraints. Steam Next Fest, it waits for no one. And the final cozy game that I played was Tiny Garden. This was another one that I was really looking forward to. And a lot of it was to do with the nostalgia of it being based around like the old Polly Pockets. Like, I mean the old ones. The ones that you opened up and had like the really, really tiny pieces. I had so many of those as a kid, so this hit the nail on the head in terms of nostalgia. Which is why the music, I gave a 4 out of 5. I really liked the music. It was very soothing. It was nice to listen to, and I think it fit the atmosphere really well. The mechanics of the game, once I got the hang of them, were a 4 out of 5. It took me a second to really get what I was doing. Because sometimes, and I believe that was due to a little bit of pressure from feeling like I needed to keep getting through each game because I wanted to play as many games as possible to show you guys as many games as possible. So sometimes I would forget to sit back, take a deep breath, and look at all the options. So it took me a second to realize that I was not trying to unlock a new plant. I was actually trying to unlock a new subsection. So once I took that deep breath and figured that out, the mechanics actually became so simple for the game. Next up is the story. This is another game that's kind of like a craft your own story. There's not a like huge story through it, but the story is one that you create yourself through building the room inside of your Polly Pocket, essentially, your tiny garden, and also as you're doing your gardening and unlocking more features, there's not like a set story to go along with it. It's more a choose your own adventure, and the atmosphere it creates, it gives you a lot of creativity for what you want to see in the game. And finally, the coziness of the game, I gave a 4.5. Very cozy, very relaxing. Nothing about it is any sort of time constraint. You just get to relax and vibe and decorate to your heart's content. And I really like that about this game. I've been looking forward to it for, goodness, months at this point. And I'm really, really glad that I got to play it. And I think it was only fair that that was the final game I checked out of my Cozy Games tour. So that was the 7 cozy game demos. I would like to give an honorable mention to Cats and Cozy Rooms, which I played on stream. That is over on my VOD channel, and also possibly getting edited down to showcase on my main YouTube channel. Words are hard. The second one I played that also was a cozy game, I think, was A Tale in the Garden. I had a lot of fun with this. This is also going to be up on the VOD channel, maybe edited down for the main channel. This was a cozy game that kind of took a dark turn, so look forward to those. That video is at least going on the VOD channel, so if you don't see it on here, you'll see it on there, and it's a doozy. I had a lot of fun with that one. But yeah, that was 7 cozy game demos from Steam Next Fest. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys saw at least one game that interested you. I know that I definitely have a few that I want to keep an eye on. The top rated games, because I always add up all of them, my top rated game was Is This Seat Taken? So honestly, some beautiful games were released. They were so cozy, they were so relaxing, and I had such a fun time playing them. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have a horror version also coming out for this. I really hope you guys enjoy it. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, leave a nice little comment, and maybe even subscribe so that you know every time I upload a new video. And with that being said, have a fantastic rest of your life. Life? I think I'm getting too in character as Mita. Ready, steady, bye!